They thought the old man was just grieving, until they started hearing chains dragging and funeral screams coming from the barn every night. Shouldn't have gotten involved in this. And if there's one thing I learned after everything that happened, it's that there are places you simply shouldn't go, no matter how curious you are, no matter how much you think you can handle what you'll find, because some things don't want to be understood. They just want to keep existing in the dark, far from any human eyes. And Anselmo's farm became exactly that kind of place after Dona Lourdes died. The old man was always known for being reserved, but he wasn't strange. On the contrary, he was the kind of man who spent his entire life on the same land, waking up before the sun rose and going to sleep long after it had set, someone who didn't need much to live, just his routine, his wife by his side, and the typical silence of the countryside. But when she died, something in him didn't break like it does for most people. Something in him simply emptied, as if the part that made him human had been taken away along with her. The funeral was already not normal, and that was clear to everyone who was there, because it wasn't just the absence of emotion that was unsettling, it was the way he watched everything, standing in front of the coffin, eyes fixed, barely blinking, as if he were waiting for some reaction, some movement, something that never came. And there was a specific moment, a small detail no one talked about afterward, but that stayed in my mind, when the coffin was already being covered with dirt, and the sound of the shovel hitting the dry ground echoed through the cemetery. He took a step forward, slow, hesitant, as if he were about to say something or stop it. But then he simply stopped, stood there for a few seconds, and turned his back before they even finished burying her. After that he disappeared, not completely in the physical sense, because he was still there on the farm, but it was as if he had stopped being part of the world around him. He no longer went into town, didn't respond when people called him, didn't open the door for anyone, and the house, which once had simple signs of life, like clothes on the line, a light on in the kitchen, or the sound of the television at night, became completely silent, still, as if abandoned until, a few days later, the only light that came back on wasn't in the house, but in the barn. And at first, that didn't draw as much attention as it should have, because everyone thought the same thing. He just wanted to distract himself, keep his mind occupied, maybe take care of something, clean tools, anything that would help him not think about the recent loss. But the problem wasn't the light being on, it was the fact that it never went out. No matter the time, no matter the day, that weak yellowish light stayed there, constant, as if something inside that barn never stopped. It was João who heard it first, and he's not the type to make things up or get scared easily. Someone used to the sounds of animals, to silent nights, to everything that comes with life in the countryside. But that night he woke up to a sound that didn't fit anything he knew, a metallic dragging, slow, heavy, repetitive, as if a chain were being pulled across the ground on purpose, not by the wind, not by chance, but by something that knew exactly what it was doing. And at first, he tried to ignore it, turned over, pulled the blanket up, tried to go back to sleep, but the sound kept going. Constant, persistent, and then came the second noise, a low, dragged, almost choked groan. The next day he mentioned it to some neighbors, a bit awkwardly, like someone who doesn't want to sound paranoid, and some even laughed, saying it could be an animal trapped, old wood creaking, any simple explanation that would solve the discomfort without thinking too much. But that same night, other people started hearing it too. And what had been just a metallic sound was now accompanied by something much worse, because they were no longer groans, they were screams, low, prolonged, filled with a kind of pain that made your whole body shiver, and there was something deeply wrong about them, something that made it seem like they didn't come from someone completely alive. I tried to ignore it longer than I should have, because when you live in a place like that, you learn not to get involved with things you don't understand. You learn to pretend certain things just aren't happening, but that only works until the moment it starts invading your own home, and that's exactly what happened on the third night. When I woke up, not by choice, but pulled out of deep sleep by a sound that seemed to cut through the silence and go straight into my head, the dragging of chains, slow, heavy, followed by a scream that wasn't loud, but intense enough to make my chest tighten. I got up slowly, trying not to make noise, and went to the window, feeling that strange discomfort of someone who already knows they're not going to like what they're about to see. And when I looked toward the farm, the first thing I noticed was the barn light, on as always, but this time there was something different, something that made my whole body freeze, because I could see movement inside, shadows being cast through the cracks in the wood, and one of them was clearly the old man, hunched, slow, recognizable, but the other one didn't make sense. It was too tall, too long, and it moved in a broken, irregular way, as if each part of its body worked on a different timing. That night I closed the curtain harder than necessary, as if that would somehow protect me from whatever was happening there, and tried to go back to bed, but it was useless, because the sounds continued, not just in that moment, but for hours, repeating, echoing, sticking in my head in a way that felt impossible to forget. And that's when I understood that it wasn't going to stop, not on its own. The following days only made things worse, because it wasn't just the sounds anymore, it was the smell. A smell that started faint, almost unnoticeable, but that intensified each night. A sweet and rotten odor at the same time, heavy, dense, like something in advanced decomposition, but with a strange characteristic, something that didn't feel natural, something that made your stomach turn and your head feel light just by sensing it. And the most disturbing part was that it always got stronger at night, as if it were directly connected to whatever was happening inside the barn. That's when it became impossible to ignore, because it was no longer just curiosity or fear, it was something affecting everyone around. And that's when we decided to go there, me, Zhao, and Carlos, none of us really wanting to be in that situation, but also unable to keep pretending nothing was happening, so we agreed to go in the late afternoon, before darkness took over, as if that somehow made it safer. The walk to the farm was silent in an uncomfortable way, because it wasn't a natural silence. It was the kind where everyone is thinking the same thing, but no one wants to be the first to say it out loud. And when we finally arrived, the first thing that hit us was the smell, much stronger than any description could prepare us for, something almost tangible, as if it were thick in the air, sticking to the skin, entering through breathing and settling deep in the throat. The house was open, completely open, as if someone had left without caring to close it, and that alone was already wrong, because no one there did that, no one left a house exposed like that. And when we went inside, everything looked abandoned mid-use. Dishes on the table, a chair pulled out, a half-full glass, as if the old man had simply stood up at some point and decided not to come back. And that's when we heard it, the metallic sound, low, dragging, coming from the back, from the barn. And in that moment, without needing to say anything, the three of us understood the same thing: he was there. As soon as the door opened, the smell came in strong, heavy, almost solid, making us step back instinctively. But it wasn't the smell that paralyzed us, it was what was in the center of the barn, because there, surrounded by deep marks on the ground as if something had been dragged countless times, there was a body, or what was left of it, and even in that deformed, impossibly altered state, it was still recognizable. It was Dona Lourdes, the same one we had all seen buried days before, but that didn't look like death. It looked like manipulation, as if someone had tried to keep the body working somehow. Before any of us could react, the sound of the chains came back, but this time it came from behind, and when we turned, the old man was there, standing at the entrance, his body strange, too elongated, skin stretched, eyes hollow and empty, and behind him there was that thing, tall, disproportionate, with limbs too long, held by chains that weren't fixed to the barn but connected directly to the body on the ground. He spoke softly, almost without emotion, saying she didn't want to leave, so he brought her back. The creature moved in a wrong way, as if it were being pulled, and the sound that came out of it didn't sound human nor animal. It was something broken, multiple, impossible to understand, and that was enough for us to run without looking back, getting out of there as fast as possible, without trying to understand anything else. When we came back later with other people, the barn was empty, completely clean, no body, no chains, no old man, as if nothing had ever happened. Only the smell was still there. And to this day, on some nights, when everything gets too quiet, you can still hear chains dragging,